Hi, this is Nina. We're going to be reading the chapter from Pulse by Patrick CARMAN. If you guys like the story, you can go on the link to buy it. And let's go. Part 1, Old Park Hill. Chapter 1, Here We Are. Faith Daniels was sleeping soundly when several things in her room began to move. She was a tall girl with long limbs that extended beyond the bed into the cool air of her bedroom. The first object to move was her blanket. It slowly covered her foot, which had wriggled its way free in the night. A dark hallway lay beyond her open door, and though no one was there, the door swung slowly closed. It made a soft sound, and Faith stirred, but did not wake. A dark shadow fell over her bed, blocking the faint moonlight through the window. With just that, it sounded like it would be very scary. Like that sounded like the setup to a ghost. On her nightstand, Faith's standard issue tablet was thin, with a glossy surface the size of a sheet of typing paper. As she slept, its sleek form rose quietly up into the air and drifted over her body. Mm, ouch. But it's as thin as a piece of paper, so I guess it wouldn't hurt. It stopped abruptly over her face, and then its movements became more jarring. Sharp tilts back and forth as it descended toward the sleepy girl, as if it were an animal sizing her up. Faith's soft breath left a foggy mark on the glass, and still she did not stir. The tablet flew with violent, lightning speed around the room. It stopped inches from the bedroom window, rotated, and faced the darkness outside. The screen turned on, and Faith kicked her foot free of the covers. She was not a girl who liked warm toes in the dead of night. Is she moving this stuff, or someone outside her windows peeking in? Faith had a password like everyone else, but whatever ghostly presence had made the tablet move also had the power to unlock its contents. For the next hour, something searched the tablet. It looked at the songs Faith had chosen, the stories, the TV shows and movies, and the words she had written. A ghostly stalker. At 2:11 a.m., the tablet turned off. It returns to its home at the side of Faith's bed. The door to her room opened once more, just a little. The blankets were left alone. There was movement outside the window, quiet and careful. I knew it. A stalker outside with telekinesis. A phantom of something else had found out. A phantom or something else had found what it had come for. Was gone in a flash. Uh, this is like top level stalkery. On the first day of school at Old Park Hill, Faith walked past what was once an open air mall. She turned in toward the rubble and made her way through a modern ruin of concrete and exposed rebar. It was not a place Faith had ever known as a destination for buying things. All purchases were made on her tablet. The tablet is capitalized, so mm, well, when you read the book, you'll know. Which sat snugly in her back pocket. She pulled it out and held it by its bottom right corner and its top left corner with her thumbs and fingers. Applying slight pressure, she heard the familiar snap and pulled the tablet on opposing ends, feeling it stretch like taffy. Okay, the tablet snapped again, a much larger size now, rigid again, ready for some real input. Faith tapped away as she stood there, reading through a message from her mom, looking at her schedule for the day, sending out a note to a friend when she had purchased several shows she wanted to consume as she navigated her day. Yo, ho, ho. She snapped the tablet back into a smaller size and returned it to her pocket. I don't think we as a society need any electronics that can be turned from a smaller size to a larger size like taffy. Like sure, flip phone, okay. There's a hinge. This is actually not good. And if it's not for medical, I really don't see that being important. For Faith, the very idea of shopping was contained in the digital world, where everything felt like the air she breathed, at once her own and everyone else's too. Songs, movies, shows, books. These were the things she paid for. This was shopping. These things were in her cloud of knowing. There were jeans and tight t-shirts and makeup, just as there had always been. But real items were very expensive, and buying them was rare. Uh, I need real tangible stuff. I need physical copies. I need physical media, and I need my right here, right now. What if there's no internet? What if there's no electricity? I'm pretty sure I turned this alarm off. I'm not recording this again, so pretend you didn't hear that. All right. There it was. It seemed to fade. There were, it seemed to fade, empty spaces everywhere, made empty still by what they were filled with. A shameful regret. The scorching, un-American scent of failure. The un-American scent of failure. People had simply started moving away, most of them to one of the two states. One of the two? Didn't Washington say something about? I'm just kidding. I know it was the parties. And they weren't coming back. This, Faith had long ago decided, suited her just fine. There was a striking aloneness in the leftover city, a vast openness that it, a vast openness that agreed with her personality. She liked the idea of being one of you, not one of too many, and yet it did feel haunted at times, like the soul of something invisible was in the air all around her, like something was trying to fill empty space. There were many other reasons for the fallen city around her, reasons adults like to talk about all the time, that were not interesting to Faith. She had no nostalgia for a time before when the world was different, for she had no memory of those things. This was her time, her world, and for all its desolation, Faith Daniels loved it. She was not interested in how the world had, be, had come to be as it was or when it had changed. She was not interested in moving to one of the states where 100 million people lived on top of one another. So they definitely not in New York. She was interested in her tablet, her music, her art, her height. Boys can't get rid of them. They liked to sit on the step of what was once an old navy. as she did now. Old Navy in 2051. It said was once an Old Navy. And it says she left as she did now and buy a song. Songs are cheap. A single coin paid for dozens of them. Faith had thousands of songs already. They made her feel things, and feeling was something she liked very much. And it always felt somehow right to make her purchases as she sat in the shadow of retail wreckage. Yeah, that feels good. She had sat in the very same spot 15 days before and purchased something expensive, something she'd saved a lot of coin for. The coin is also capitalized. It was the shipping that cleaned her out. It's always the shipping. It's always the shipping. You be thinking, yeah, I could see me buying this. And then you go to see the shipping and you're like, whoa. That's always my problem. The distance between her and the nearest state where what she wanted was manufactured was so great it was difficult to connect. 96 coin for her jeans for the jeans she was wearing. The jeans that were long enough for her exceptionally long legs. When she purchased her songs and it was playing in her ears, Faith stood in her 15-day-old jeans and walked past a vacant store. Macy's, the sign said, then turned sharply and walked out of the empty parking lot. Her old school, a mile in the opposite direction, had closed a month earlier as enrollment slipped below 100. She'd moved schools 3 times already in the past 2 years, so she was used to it. But this was the first time she'd been a part of a merge between two dying schools so close to each other. Faith had always relocated twice from cities farther away. Faith had also relocated twice from cities farther away, where the emptiness had pushed her family out. Her parents always stayed where they were as long as they could, but the end result was the same. They moved closer to the western state, its shadow growing larger. I bet you they ain't got no seeds or nothing. They can't grow no seeds and live on. Mm-mm. She forced herself to forget even the names of dead schools, the friends she lost, the feeling of not knowing who would be missing from one day to the next. This was her reality. Things changed, people vanished, everything got smaller and emptier. And one day, when no one else was remain, she too would be forced to join the state, and her way of life would come to a close. The end was near enough. She could almost reach out and touch it. This created in her was not sadness. She said 2 states, and each one has like 100 million people. So that's 200 million people. Where is the rest of the people from America? Okay. The end was near enough. She could almost reach out and touch it. This was created in her not this created in her not sadness, but a reckless sense of having to fit very much inside of a little time. She could make out the school now, up the hill, staring down at her through an early morning mist that clung to the trees. I had to hike up miles in the hills just to get to school and back every day. No, it's not funny because people actually have to do that still. Excuse me. She felt the tightness of her jeans, and smiled at the prospect of more, not fewer boys, because falling in love was high on her list of things having to get done in the space of a little time. When are we getting that car again? This has got to stop. Liz Brand was coming down the sidewalk, alternating staring at Faith and at her tablet, which was in his pockets, which was in his pocket size. She held it in one hand, tapping out a message on the small screen with her thumb. Unless you've got a million coin hidden in your tablet, I think we're on foot for the rest of our lives, Faith said. It's not so bad, beautiful day, and you should look up when you're walking. Dang, y'all can't even get a bike? That's probably 250,000 a coin. Liz, who was a full head shorter than Faith, looked up from her tablet and glanced behind her. It was a long way over here, longer than the last place we went to school. This actually sounds scary. Yeah, yeah, it does sound scary because what do you mean? The schools are just keep closing because why is there so much of, well, we got to keep going so we know the setting. And this is giving very much tell instead of show. Liz, who was a full head shorter than Faith, looked up from her tablet and glanced behind her. It was a long way over here, longer than the last place we went to school. Maybe you should get a bike, Faith suggested. Liz and Faith had been inseparable ever since Liz's boyfriend Noah had vanished into the western state. His departure devastated Liz, left her confused and fragile. Okay, that's not funny. It's actually pretty sad. After Noah, it was just the two of them, Faith and Liz, holding on to each other and not letting go. As they watched more and more people leave, they renewed a promise. We see this through until the end, and we don't let anyone else in. Too risky, too painful. Better to gut it out and hold on to each other. Aww. I think Liz is going to go to the state first. She might go to the eastern state, even though it's way farther. Well, I'm not pointed, but way farther than the other one. Because they're moving closer to the western state. But I think she's going to go eastern just to give it more dramatic flair. Looking at Liz, they're in front of a new school full of people who would soon be leaving. Faith wondered if the day would come when she'd find herself without her only friend. Yes, I give it 2 chapters. Y'all will be reading that when you get the book yourself. You and me to the end, like we talked about. Liz said, but then she smiled a slight smile and raised her dark eyebrows. Maybe we'll find you a short-term boyfriend just for fun. Faith felt a rush of anticipation. She's recently been obsessing over the idea of a boyfriend, something that had eluded her for a little too long. She was sure this was because she was tall and lanky, like a stork, and no boy wanted to date a girl taller than he was. There was also the unfortunate matter of slim picking. So few boys tall enough to count. Slim pickings is funny. Too many boys, but they're not tall enough. Okay. Liz leaned back and looked at Faith's butt. Nice jeans. That's going to help. Got any coin left or did they clean you out? Clean me out, Faith admitted. It was worth it, Liz says. And then she slapped Faith on the butt and laughed loudly enough to draw the attention of the principal, who was standing at the main door, glad handing new students as they went inside. Faith and Liz stopped in front of the sprawling high school campus. It was built in 1975, which made it 76 years old, but it didn't look a day under 100. There was a billboard at the top of it. a paint-chipped white pole with the message, "Welcome, new students. We're glad you're here." Excuse me. Liz looked at the billboard, shaking her head. "I bet they are. Oh, they probably don't get much funding." They waved weakly as a few students from their old school entered the main building. The other students looked shell-shocked at the prospect of starting at a new school, including the fact that it would involve shaking the cold, clammy hand of the principal. When Faith arrived at the door, she got her first look at Mr. Reichert. He was immediately concerned, and was immediately concerned. His skin had the dull texture of someone who had been ravaged by acne as a teenager. He cut his own hair and had hired a lawn maintenance supervisor to do it for him. It sat like a black dome over his egg-shaped head, straight and speckled with dandruff. He smiled hugely with the bleached white teeth he was clearly proud of showing. "Girl, get a comb. Scrape that stuff out." "Welcome, girls. We're glad you're here," he said. He held open the door with his dandruff-speckled shoulder as he reached out his hand. "I know you fucking lying." Oh, shoot, I wasn't supposed to cuss. Don't listen to me. Liz looked at Faith like she just smelled a glass of possibly sour milk. Faith nodded and smiled, and then brushed past Mr. Reichert without saying anything or touching his clammy hand. "Stay to the right, down the hall," he said, flashing that smile again, "and you'll find your way. And don't go past any of the barriers. Some places are closed." Liz slid through the doorway before Mr. Reichert could hold out his hand, and the two girls were mercifully inside their new school. It was quieter than Faith had hoped. Soft echoes from distant places, bouncing off the long corridors, heading in three directions. Here we are," said Faith, suddenly unsure about the tightness of her jeans and the specter of a new school. "Yeah," Liz said nervously. "Here we are." Old Park Yale was constructed and managed under the assumption that 2,000 students would pack its halls on a normal day. And there was a time when this had been true. Back in the 2010s, the school had even been overpopulated for a while, but now the student body had dwindled to 80 students, down from the 140 year before. Fake's previous school had been getting even smaller. At last count, there would have been 53. Old Park Hill had been slightly less run down of the two, and was the proud host of all 133 students from both schools. As they started, damn, 133 class. Oh my God. This is a horror story, ain't it? Ain't it? There's got to be a horror story. This is what happens when there's terrible government control. Listen. Well, it definitely don't say, excuse me, horror, but it's giving horror. As Faith parted ways with Liz and began a search for her first classroom, she became aware of the almost complete lack of adult supervision. Budgets being what they were, nearly zero, according to some estimates. The student-teacher administration ratio had gotten even worse. When there had been 2,000 students, there had been about 75 teachers, and now there were only 133 students, and a couple of teachers would have to suffice. And education still getting the short end of the stick. But this is actually terrifyingly sick. That's what they're trying to do now. So, I'm not gonna do it. Okay. And they need to double this principal. And they need to double as the principal and vice principal. Lord, what? What? Now there were only 133 students and a couple of teachers that would have to suffice. And they need to double as the principal and vice principal. 133 students, 2 staff, and 1 overworked janitor. That was what high school was like at Old Park Hill in the year 2051. Absolutely sick. Absolutely sick. Absolutely not. Faith glanced down the hallway, searching for help. My allergies is acting up. And saw a red-headed girl surrounded by guys. She had the white complexion of a fish's underbelly, which made her green eyes look like shiny marbles about to pop out of her head. Faith knew this girl, Amy, from her old school. Faith wondered what the guys always saw in Amy. It must have been her curvy figure that attracted them. Girl, are you hating that she's a hottie? Hey, Amy, Faith yelled down a long. Sorry, I was reading it. Hey, Amy, Faith yelled down a long, nearly empty corridor. Amy turned at the sound of her name, her red hair moving softly like flames in a campfire. Help me find English 300, will you? None of the guys Amy was standing with had gone to face old school, but Amy had never been one to waste any time building a coalition of boys starving for attention. Excuse me. The moment she saw Faith coming, she took the arm of one of them and dragged him into a classroom. Such a tool, Faith whispered. Amy was the other person, besides Liz, who remained in Faith's life from the old days. She still played a lot during junior high drama games, and when it came to guys, Amy was a terror. Oh my god. Excuse me. Alright. Amy was a terror. Amy was a terror. Faith showed up late to her first class with Miss Newhouse, who made up half of the teaching staff. Miss Newhouse hardly paid attention to anyone in the room and was the other reason why so few teachers were present at Old Park Hill. They weren't really needed. It was often hard for Faith to imagine it any other way. So completely did her tablet consume the role of teacher, counselor, and truant officer. Oh, this is actually very scary. This is scary. This is scary. I'm terrified. Imagine being 60 and you see how terrible, like, this is not, this is not things changing for the better for multiple people. This is actually worse for everybody. What they're describing is actually worse for everybody. The teachers didn't teach, they babysat. The talent did all the real work. Lectures were streamed in from the best teachers in each of the 2 states. who were given multi-million-dollar contracts and fancy cars and big houses for being not only experts in their field, but outrageously talented at the teaching material they knew. The local teachers at Old Park Hill wouldn't even administer tests. They were there to make sure no one got hurt, contain drug use, stop fights from breaking out, and keep the lights on. Vic sat down at her desk and reached for her tablet. Who do you have for Who do you have for English Lit? Said one voice behind her. I've got Rollins. Oh my God, he's insane. So good. If it weren't for teaching Shakespeare, he'd be a comic genius, no joke. Who do you have again? Oh my goodness. This is terrible. This is actually terrible. Some kids need in-person teaching. They turned around in her seat and saw a short, geeky-looking kid. I haven't said, Faith whispered. He probably wasn't talking to her. And then turned back around to her own lectures as her own lecture started. Not Rollins, but Buford, who was also amazing, but widely known as not funny. She put on her headphones and began listening. Do they have to pay more for different teachers? She put on her headphones and began listening while a red keypad was projected onto the flat surface of the desk in front of her. She was able to take notes on the whiteboard and insert them on the timeline running alongside the lecture, where she would also be able to reference the material later. Excuse me. This was how she took quizzes and tests as well, and asked questions when she needed to. Teachers had between 1,000 and 10,000 aides, depending on how many students were taking the classes. If a student had a question, he could type it in 24 hours a day and usually get an answer within 5 minutes. That's got to be bad for their psyche. You should not have access to a person like that. The tablet delivered study halls, test prep units, and instantaneous feedback on homework. The only thing it didn't provide was microwavable snacks, and there was a rumor floating around that a future version would even do that. Oh, hell no. Absolutely not. This is absolutely sick. This is a horror book. A message appeared along the bottom of Faith's screen, which surprised her. Usually, when a lecture began, her tablet automatically blocked out all incoming messages. I see you got Buford. He's pretty good. Rollins is better. What's your name again? Roland looked around the class. Faith looked around the classroom, filled with 30 other students. Another message appeared on the screen. Behind you. That's actually scary. If she set it up behind you, if she set it up not to get messages during class, what the heck? Faith slowly turned around and smiled painfully. Then she turned back to her tablet, rolling her eyes as soon as she could without being seen by the crown prince of dorks. Yeah, because that's weird. Perfect, Faith thought as she listened to Buford dissect the meaning of Henry V. I'm here 10 minutes and I pick up a stalker and a hacker. Man, I would definitely want to know how to hack these little evil tablets too. Faith typed out a text message and tapped send. How do you activate messaging during the lecture? And I'm busy. There was a pause of about 4 seconds. Easy. There's a backdoor version in 20. There's a backdoor in version 25. It takes about an hour to code for each tablet. And he was at her window until I don't know if it's him, but I'm pretty sure it's him. He was at her window until 2:15. What time did they say? I'm pretty sure it said 2:15. I don't want to go back. It takes about an hour to code for each tablet. But once you're in, you can come with anyone during lectures. It's a two-way door when I open it. Cool, right? Didn't you hear about it? No, Faith thought. I don't troll the online nerd threads. And that's why you so stuck up in that damn phone. Tablet. Oh, Jesus. They tried to listen to Buford until another message scrolled across her screen. I'm Hawk, and you are? Faith ignored Hawk and went back to work, tapping out notations and tagging them to the screen with her finger. She tapped the corner of the screen on the tablet and a menu appeared, from which she chose a drawing stylus. A square of soft light appeared. This is magic. This is magic. A square of soft light appeared on her desk next to the light board, and she began drawing the outline of a face. Oh, okay, okay. I thought the stylus poured out of the. She was good at faces and usually only needed to get a really good look at people once in order to draw them. She looked around the room for a subject, taking in the new students. Her eyes landed on a guy in the back row. He wore skater shoes and skinny jeans and a light V-neck t-shirt. That style is never going to go out. It's never going to go out. They're going to be looking. Okay, okay, okay. His hair was thick and black, and to her surprise, he was writing with a pen in a notebook. He seemed to be ignoring his tablet because it's evil. It's evil. The tablet is evil. I don't need to be reading that long to know that. I knew it was evil in the first page, even though someone else was controlling it. But I knew it was evil. Ooh, okay, let's hurry up. She sent a message to Hawk and began drawing with her finger. Who's the caveman in the back row? A moment later, Hawk answered. Dylan Gilmore. He doesn't talk too much, and at least not to me. Also, he's an a-hole. Faith stole one more glance. The profile of his face and upper body revealed a strong chin and a muscular arm. Please me, tall face, called herself thinking. Period. Whatever he was working on, he was really into it, and his head was moving up and down. It looked to her like he was listening to music, not to a lecture. But that wasn't possible. The tablet wouldn't let him do that during a lecture. The tablet wouldn't let him do that? Why does it have the control to not? Oh, this is not a school tablet. This is the tablet he's got with him. Oh no. It's actually pissing me off. It's actually pissing me off. There were three more messages from her before the lecture came to an end. Excuse me. When it did, Faith turned in her chair. Please don't do that while I'm in the middle of a class. Buford is tough and Shakespeare is confusing. No problem. I can chill. Super chill. What was your name again? It had 5 U's. Faith rolled her eyes and got up to leave. But then she thought better of the idea and turned back. She could have a worse she could have worse things than a friend who was really bright and knew how to hack into a tablet. It's Faith. And no more messages during class, okay? Totally. Yeah, got it, Faith. It dawned on her that Hawk was probably a lot younger than she was. They were glomming the classes together more and more because there didn't seem to be a good reason not to. Faith was a junior, and by the looks of it, this little guy, he was probably a freshman. How old are you? Faith asked as they walked out. of the classroom. 17. Okay, 16, I mean. I'll be 16 in practically no time. And that's actually funny. 17, okay, I'm 16. Well, actually, I'll be 16 very soon. There was a long pause in which Hawk decided she was going to find out soon enough. I'm 13. I'll be 16 in practically no time. That's 3 years, buddy. Are you sure you're not 9? You look like you're 9. Ouch, Hawk said, holding his heart. That one stung. Faith punched him on the arm. A low punch was required to miss the side of his head. Dang, he's really short. Just kidding. You look at least 11. Really? Thanks. They laughed as they entered the corridor and looked both ways. Faith could imagine what it had been like when there were 2,000 students and 75 teachers. I mean, I guess it's still good that they're moving them around between classes because imagine they just sit in one classroom all day, every day. Faith imagined what it had been like when there were 2,000 students and 75 teachers, which still wasn't enough, mind you. The energy must have been amazing. As it was, this place felt like a morgue. A few bodies moving between doors and very low humming voices. I wonder how long they'll keep this place open, Faith asked. Hard to say, Hawk answered, making a note on his tablet, which he had snapped to small and held in his delicate palm. But I'll see what I can find out. They were about to part when two tall figures arrived, entering the corridor from far end of the building. At first, Faith only saw their silhouettes against the bright window behind them. There was a confidence in these walking shadows that seemed out of place at Old Park Hill. As they came closer, Faith realized it was a guy and a girl, and that they were at least her own age. Who? Faith started to ask, but Hawk was already on it. Wade and Claire Quinn, Hawk said, leaning in a little close to catch the scent of Faith's perfume. What the heck? This little gremlin is creepy. While he thought she was distracted. Believe it or not, they're the field games, representing the outside. They're scary smart too. Also a-holes. Faithful started to think Hawk thought everyone at Old Park was an a-hole, but she didn't mention it because Wade Quinn was staring at her. His sister had peeled off, but Wade's eyes never were locked on Faith. First of all, who are you looking at? Maybe I'm too confrontational. Maybe he's trying to flirt with her. It was like there was no one else in the world. The closer he got, the better looking he was, until he was standing right next to her and she was doing something she never rarely did. Faith Daniels, 5 feet 11, was looking way up at a boy. 5 feet 11. She thinks she's so tall. She thinks she's so tall. She thinks she's so cool because she's 5 feet 11. How tall are you? She said without even thinking. Period. It just tumbled out of her mouth unexpectedly. Whilst Wade smiled, blonde hair fall. He's a he's a demon. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Wade smiled, blonde hair falling down around blue eyes. Tall enough, he said. I'm Wade. Hey, Wade, how's it going? Hawk asked. Wade didn't look at Hawk or answer his question, but he nodded at him, never taking his eyes off Faith. They were having a moment. She's having a moment with it. Okay, I'm not gonna say this because I want people to actually watch my channel. They were having a moment, both of them, instantly attracted to each other. Their eyes had kept making contact and then dashing quickly to the floor of our locker. Wade loved tall girls, the taller the better, and he liked the way Faith's hair fell on her one bright eye, like she was toying with him. For Faith, it was Wade's light blue eyes and the curl of his lips. She could imagine staring into that face for hours just for the pleasure of looking at it. Come on. But I already seen the belly. I already seen it. I already seen it. I already seen it. Cool, said Hawk, like he and Wade were having a conversation they clearly were not having. I'm good. I'm really good. This is Faith. She's new. Wade's sister, the other half of the twins, arrived beside him. She was almost as tall as he was, and gorgeous. She had surprisingly short hair that that focused. She had surprisingly short hair that focused knockers on her athletic, chiseled face, and her long, lean body offered plenty of curves too. Holy sh! No, well, it says it here, so y'all can't be mad. Holy shit, you're tall," said Faith. It was rare for her to encounter a girl this much taller than she was. Claire Quinn had to be 6 foot two. She's 1 inch shorter than me. Thank you, Claire said, studying Faith from top to bottom. I think. She nudged Wade on the shoulder to get him moving, and the two of them continued down the nearly empty corridor. Wade turned back. Nice pants. And then he was gone around the corner. Hawk glanced at behind Faith, checking out the pants. Those are definitely nice. Did you order them from Western State? I can get things a lot cheaper from the Eastern State. I know it doesn't make any sense, right? Which is why it makes sense. Yeah, okay. I'll see you later then. Girl, he's just telling you he got the hookup. Faith started walking away in a love crushed daze, searching for her next class, and Hawk called after her. Be careful, Faith. The twins are pretty intense. Better to stay off their radar. A 13-year-old is telling you this. A 13-year-old is telling you this. A 13-year-old is telling her this. It was too late for Faith Daniels. She'd only been in Old Park Hill for 2 hours, and she'd already fallen in love, fallen under Wade Quinn's spell. That's the end of the chapter. And, well, if you liked it, go to the link at the bottom and get it yourself. Like, comment, and subscribe.